talk about a frequency chart for the Michigan bar exam. So what we're going to do is look at which subjects have been tested a lot more in recent years and which subjects have been tested less in recent years. Obviously, no one can predict exactly which subjects are coming up on the bar exam, so you shouldn't rely on this exclusively to make predictions or rely on anybody's predictions to say, okay, this is definitely coming up. But knowing and having an idea of which subjects are more heavily tested and which ones aren't can help you prepare better for the Michigan bar exam. So let's start by looking at some subjects that have been basically always tested, and then we'll talk about which subjects have been tested more and more in the last 5 years and which subjects we've seen a little bit less. Okay, so if you're looking at this frequency chart, you can see that some subjects, like for example, a lot of the MBE subjects are very heavily tested. And there are some Michigan subjects that are also really heavily tested. Basically every bar exam, unless it is a very strange exam. So for example, if we're just going down, I'm just going down the left-hand column of the chart, you can see things like civil procedure, constitutional law, contracts, crim law, crim pro, evidence, family law, personal property, real property, and in more recent years, wills, although this has not always been the case, because trusts used to be tested more than wills, but now wills seems to be more heavily tested. So basically, these are subjects that you should not be surprised at all because they've pretty much come up basically every bar exam. And then there are some subjects that have been tested more in the last 5 years. And in fact, about 5 years ago, the Michigan Board of Law Examiners posted something to their website saying that all subjects are fair game on the Michigan bar exam and kind of warning examinees that maybe it would start testing more unusual subjects, and it has. Okay, so you can see that some subjects have really increased in popularity. These include agency, conflict of laws, creditors' rights, equity, and to a degree even negotiable instruments, because it was tested in July 2019. Before that, it was tested in February 2010. And to a small degree partnership, because we did see that tested once in the recent years. Some subjects have also been tested yet less. So while you want to definitely make sure you know the subjects that we just talked about because they've been tested more and more, some subjects have gone down in popularity. Of course, you don't want to ignore them, but they have not been as popular with recent board members. So these are subjects like professional responsibility. You can see that this subject actually hasn't been tested at all since 2016. In fact, I had heard that the board members told law schools that they would not be testing professional responsibility because they realized that the MPRE was tested, and so they didn't feel a need to test professional responsibility, versus before 2016, it was basically tested every single administration. So professional responsibility, it's still something we cover because it's still fair game on the bar exam, but it seems as though it's very unlikely to be tested because since then they've kept to their word and they have not tested it on the bar exam. Other subjects that have gone down in popularity, sales has gone down in popularity, most likely because if sales is not tested, something like secure transactions or creditors' rights or even negotiable instruments is tested. And since those subjects have become more popular, sales has become less popular to test. Though again, definitely still fair game. Trusts has been tested way less than wills. Historically, trust was tested a lot less than wills, but there was a brief period of time, and you can see it right on the chart, from 2012 till about 2011 till about 2015, where trust was actually more popular than wills. Now I have a feeling that the current board member who writes these property questions doesn't like trust as much, and so they've been testing wills a lot more than trusts recently. And then lastly, workers' compensation has gone down in popularity. Before, at one point in time, a lot of the board members were workers' comp lawyers or judges, and now I don't believe any of them are. And so workers' comp used to be tested basically every single bar exam, and now it's tested a lot less. You can still expect to see it, of course, it's just not as popular as it was. So hopefully this Michigan bar exam subject frequency chart helps you kind of tailor your focus when you study. Obviously, you don't want to ignore anything, but you can focus on subjects that are more likely to come up when you study, and then therefore study more effectively.